Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm continuing the framing this week, and I'm gonna go ahead and do all of my drywall nailers. Before we could do any type of interior work like electrical and plumbing, I wanna make sure all my drywall nailers are in. That way I don't have to cut the nailer in half and kind of go around wires and pipes and stuff like that. It's just really nice to have all that stuff finished before I start the next process. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking at any inside corners that need to have a spot for drywall to nail. So you see Fred took another position with us over here in the entryway. He is now our drywall nailer up there for the ceiling. And then on this side, I actually put a 2x6 on top of this 2x4 wall so that it overhangs on both ends to give us a drywall nailer for this room and for this room. I also had to do it for this one. And you need to do that wherever your wall, it runs parallel with your ceiling joists. In our case, they're trusses, but any place that those run parallel to, you're not gonna have a nailer. So when they're perpendicular, you can see I can nail the drywall on the bottom of the trusses, and I don't have to add anything extra up there. But where they're not, I have to have some sort of a nailer. So I'm going ahead and doing all that. And then I'm also making sure that my inside corners on the walls also have a nailer. So this is just a ripped 2x4, I ripped it in half. And the reason I didn't just add another stud in here to give me a nailer is because you're losing insulation factor. Anytime you put a stud in the wall, that is where the majority of your cold and heat is transferred through it. But the more you can have actual insulation in here and not have studs, the better. So I want to go ahead and do anything I can to be able to just tuck some insulation back behind here and not have a stud for this inside corner, kind of like what this is. Though this is an interior wall, so we don't have to worry about that. But I'm just going along and just making sure that I have all of our interior nailers in. So here's another spot where I had to add a half a 2x4. I just ripped it in half. And that goes from floor to ceiling, so it's super strong. And then I'll be able to insulate it and also run wires behind here. So it really works good to just do all this ahead of time. And so I have a bunch of them to do. That half of the house is basically done. I just have this half to do. And like I said, all they are is where they are parallel to the walls, the trusses are. So I think I have about 5 more to go, and then we'll jump on the next thing. All right, well, good morning, guys. It's a couple days later since we started that whole process with the drywall nailers, and this is the last one we have to do, and then we can go ahead and jump on the real thing that we're going to be doing here today, which is our soffit. And so I kind of want to get an idea of how many 2x4s I'm going to need to finish all the soffit, and more importantly, fix this one stud I found while we were doing all this drywall blocking. You guys gotta check this out. I don't know what happened to this one stud, but it is so bowed. I mean, this is where it should be. That's just crazy. So I don't know. The rest of all the studs look great except for this one. So we're gonna have to cut this one out and replace it. And then I also want to add some backing to this one board here. This is the outside of the shower insert here. So because this is a little bit wobbly, I actually added a stud or a plate on top of these double top plates to stabilize this from going this direction. But I really don't like the fact that this can move back and forth. So I think what we're gonna do is add a stud on the back of this board and kind of make it a little more rigid, keep it super plumb, and from left to right, and more importantly, from inside to outside of this shower unit. So I'm just trying to get an idea of all the studs I'm gonna need to pick up. And then once we get an idea of how much boards we're gonna use for the soffit, then we can kind of get a count, and then we can make a supply run. So let's go grab a board, cut it for that last nailer, and throw it up.
What are you doing? What was that? What was that? Better go check it out. Come on, we gotta work. Go get a board.
Not a whole lot of straight boards left on the pile. I think we'll be able to pull that down. Last nailer's done, let's head outside. So we're out here at our first spot that we're gonna start from. This is the back side. This is the really long side of the house. And you can run soffit a couple different ways. You could run it parallel to the roof like we did with the barn, where it doesn't have any type of boxed soffit end here. We're not going to do that with the house. I really like the look of a bird's box on the side here, especially with our black siding, but I don't want to bring it all the way out to this gable fascia. So I'm going to bring it back so that it's flush with our walls. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this gable truss, and we're just going to fur this down, and then we're going to sheet it with this green zip sheeting, just some scraps we have, and that'll cap off the flat soffit for this long stretch, and then our gable soffit is just going to run straight down parallel with the roof, and it's going to give the look of the soffit being parallel, but also the look and the insulation, and more importantly, the air being able to go in and cool our attic down more. I'd like to have as much airflow as I possibly can up there to keep our house climatized. So the way we're going to do that is I'm just going to take a level and I'm going to level over from our subfascia and get a mark on this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then I'm going to do one in the middle, and then we're going to pop a line. So let me get a mark on this one, and we'll jump to the other side. All right, so we're here in the middle, and the way we're gonna level a line over is I just went and cut a block. That's 16 inches, which is what our soffit's gonna be. I'm just gonna use my torpedo level and do the exact same thing. Get a mark here in the center, and then we'll run a string from end to end, and then we'll pull it as tight as possible, and I'll get in the middle here and make sure that it's gonna hit our line, and I can adjust it up or down depending on what this mark shows. All right, there's our mark. Let's grab the chocolate.
All right, so now that we have our line popped, we're gonna go ahead and start running our board that's gonna go along the whole length of the side of the house. And we're using 16-foot 2x4, and we're just gonna nail it up there. And like Levi said, that's where our soffit will attach to, there and on the subfascia.
And because we have a 16-inch overhang, we also have to run cross blocking in there as well. So we might put nails in the middle of that soffit just to help hold it up. Anything bigger than 16 inches, you're required to put blocking going back from your subfascia to the house. So we're gonna have to unfortunately add those. If we had a 12-inch soffit like we did with the barn, we could get away with just putting this nailer on the house, but we're gonna actually have to put some cross bracing in there as well. All right, first board's up. We're gonna do the same thing all the way down. All right, so now that that board's on the wall, we're gonna go ahead and get the end all set here. And I have the ladder down at the one end, so I might as well start there. And it is 14 3/4. And that's butting into our zip sheeting all the way out to the sub fascia. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our framing square out, and we're gonna put a 612 bevel on this, but the long point of a 612. If you guys watched our framing video for the dog trot. And so the way we're gonna do that is throw the square on here, and I want to line up the inside of this square with this mark right here. It's a little difficult to do with this one, but we're going to put this side on a 6 and this side on a 12. We're going to slide it down till I can get to that mark right there. That's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and trace this out. All right, there is the long of a 612, and we can go ahead and double check this. Just take our speed square and see what the angle is. 64 degrees. And if we look at our chart, a 612 is 26.5. So the opposite of that would be 63.5. So that'd make 90 degrees if you added those two together. So that's how you know. So we'll go ahead and cut this. And the cool thing is the block's big enough that I can get the other side. Once I cut this angle, this will be for this side, and then all I have to do is just square this end up, and I have two blocks. Oh, Walt.
I think it's just a battery issue.
All right, put a couple pre-drills in here. We're gonna screw this up there. The hard part's gonna be this end. I know I'm gonna shoot the block onto here, so I think it should be good enough. And then we'll just throw a couple nails in. All right. Good. Split it. All right, we got this one cut, and I didn't like how the nails kind of split that board a little bit on the other side, so I'm going to use screws on this one. So I'm just going to pre-drill, throw a couple screws in for that board we nailed on the wall, and then we'll put one into the girder. That'll hold it up there. All right, the two hard ones are done. So now what we're gonna do is, wherever there's a truss, which is about every 2 feet, we're just gonna take a 2x4, we're just gonna go sideways, we're gonna line up the bottom of it with the board we nailed on the wall and our sub fascia, and just toe nail it on, work our way down. All right, so we got our blocks ready, and I was about to shoot one on, and I'm like, I should check the soffit first to make sure I know where these vents are. So here are our vents we're using, our soffit vents, and they are cut in about every foot. So I know our trusses up there are 2 foot on center, and so you can see they're designed for this so that there's a solid piece at the 2 foot mark. So what I'm gonna do is make sure that those blocks are where these vents are not. And that way when you look up there, you don't see a white, like a colored board right there, and it's just gonna look black up there. So unfortunately, the way we're running these, they're 2 foot on center. And so we're gonna have to go ahead and make a notch out of the top of this 2x4 so that it can slide up right underneath of the truss, kind of like what we just did with the girder block. And that way I know right where to nail them, but just an extra step I have to do. But I think it's gonna look way better in the long run. Okay, so I know that space between the bottom of our subfascia to where the truss tail is nailed to is a little bit more than 2 inches. So I'm gonna mark 2 inches on here. And then I'm gonna put it on my chop saw. Now my chop saw can only go to 60 degrees. And like I said earlier, I think a long of a 612 is 64 degrees. So I'm just gonna take a little extra off, set it at 60 and see if that block will fit.
Alright, looks like it's going to work great. Just make sure it's nice and square. And shoot it on there and work our way down.
All right guys, so it's the next day. We got the back of the big long side of the house finished, and now we've moved over to the side of the garage. We've already popped our line and we are ready to go. Levi's grabbing our first, I guess you could call it soffit cleat, nailing board, whatever you'd like to call it, and we're gonna go ahead and get that up. It is gonna be really hot today, so we are gonna try and do as much as we can before the weather kind of pushes us inside.
Alright, you guys kind of notice we're using screws and nails, and the screws are because the board's a little bit twisted, and then the screw allows us to really suck that tight up against the house and make it nice and flat. We're kind of at the bottom of our pile of lumber, so grab another full board.
We were young and we were free and running. Never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love. A few years later I started thinking, this is love in every glass I'm drinking. We're like one and without you I'm sinking. I'm always driving next to you. Oh, I got you, there's no reason to. Chasing pavement on my own, 'cause you're here to stay every night and day. I'm delighted 'cause I got you.
I have always been afraid of changes, but you show me life is full of faces. Sometimes clouds down in our favorite places, but we were young and unaware.
Oh, I got you, there's no reason to. Chasing payment on my own, 'cause you're here to stay every night and day. I'm delighted 'cause I la 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 la.
Shade break and snack. Watermelon and a guilty pleasure. We like to have soda every once in a while, so if you haven't had Fresca, it's really good.
I think this is one of the best watermelons we've bought in a long time.
Yeah. Pretty soon. Another month or so maybe we'll have our own. Yeah. Well, so we have both of the long sides done.
Yep.
And then we're jumping into the dog trot now. So we're gonna do the front of the house first, and then we'll jump to the back. And then that's it for having to do the blocking and the, the cleats or whatever.
Yeah, soffit cleat.
So, and then we'll have to make our supply run. One of the things that we want to do with the soffit is we want to put some sort of a screen over the vents so that nothing can go up inside.
It's just to prevent bugs. That slot isn't big enough for an animal or a really large bug to get in there, but you know, spiders and just all kinds of stuff.
Right,
I mean,
bees.
Bees for making nests in there, that's probably going to be our biggest thing. Is the bees going up in there. That's the last thing we want. So we're going to try to make this as bug resistant as possible.
Bug proof?
Bug proof. I don't think we could get all the bugs out of it.
No. Feels really nice. Enjoying the dog trot already.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, well, back to work.
Back to work.
All right, so we're just gonna do the same thing that we did over there and over there and over there and over there. Level this over. We're gonna level this over so we can pop a line on this side and attach our board. Nice and level.
No, I can't see.
Do you have your glasses on?
No. There you go.
Alright, so we're on the dog trot here, and we're going to run these a little bit differently than the rest of the house. The rest of the house, we line these blocks up with our trusses, and on these ones, we're not. We're going to be kind of in between, honestly. But the reason why is because the vents for the soffit have a space where there's not a vented part every foot. So we want to make sure that our block breaks on one of those. And so the way that we're going to run this is we're going to run this part of the soffit all the way and butt it into the LVL here. And then we're going to start this dog trot soffit right here. So I had to make some marks and go 2 foot from where that break's going to be, and then continue my layout from there. So just a little bit different, but we just had to manipulate that around a little bit so that we could have no cuts of that actual vented part of the soffit. So just got a couple more boards put up and then we can jump to the other side.
All right, so we have finished up with the front side of the house. We're now at the back. Levi's up there just leveling over the lines for the soffit cleat. And we're gonna pop our lines and then get that out. We finally have shade over here on this side of the house. And yeah, Ryder went inside. He thought it was too hot. So you know it's warm when he doesn't want to be outside.
All right, so next morning, yesterday we ended the day with putting all those cleats onto the wall. Now all we have left to do is just nail all those blocks every 2 foot. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on time warp and let's see how fast we can get it done. All right, well, the camera died when I moved it the last time, but got all the blocks finished all the way to the end. Last one's on. I'm going to show you how this turned out. I made sure this was square right here with my square, and then you really want to make sure that it's nice and level as well. Like I said, we're going to start doing all the soffit next, so that's going to be super cool. That's really going to transform this space. So thank you guys for tagging along. Sorry that the camera ran out of battery, but you guys can understand and you kind of get the gist of what we had to do. So that'll do it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next one.